Hello, football fans, and welcome to episode number 28 of View from the Sideline podcast. Coming up this week, the race for the Premier League is heating up with Liverpool and City both winning, and with Spurs, Chelsea and United all dropping points, the race is on for the top four. In the EFL review, the top teams just keep on winning in their push for promotion in all three divisions, and there's a huge talking point from the second City derby. We have a double-headed weekly teaser this week and an update on the predictions challenge. And our special topic this week is an in-depth match report on the Saints and Spurs game. We'll also take a look at the England squad, which was announced today for the upcoming qualifiers. So let's get started.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of View from the Sideline podcast. Chris here and Rich here as well.
Good evening, Chris. How are you doing?
Too bad, yourself?
Yeah, can't complain.
Good weekend?
Yes, it was, thanks. I know where it's going. It was a good game.
We'll save it. Yeah. I believe we've got a double teaser this week.
We have, yeah. So I've got a teaser to test your knowledge, Chris, but we've also had a secondary teaser which has been sent in for us both to have a go at. So I'll do mine first. So obviously Man United and Arsenal played at the weekend. So my teaser to you is roughly based around that fixture. So can you tell me in what year was the infamous clash between Keown and Van Nistelrooy in the Man United v Arsenal game at Old Trafford? So what year did it take place? And as I'm feeling a bit generous, a bonus point if you can tell me what the final score in the game was.
Okay.
I'm assuming you know the game.
I remember the game. It was when a lot of controversy around the penalty, and then Keown got a bit overexcited.
He did a tad, yeah.
I have an image of him doing it in my head right now.
He reminds me of one of those old WWF figures that used to have like a chopping motion as their move when he sort of jumps up.
And he's so calm though.
When he's
commentating now, he's really calm.
He is, but he's kind of stuck with him. It's sort of what he's remembered for, I think. But yeah, so that's teaser number one. But the teaser that's been put to both of us is, and this is from Pete, my father-in-law, the quiz king. So he has asked us which manager holds the record for the shortest reign as a manager in the Premier League, which lasted just 40 days.
4-0, yeah?
4-0, yeah. I've got an idea, but I'm not sure it's right. But I don't know, because the Premier League's been going a long time. And the one I'm thinking of is relatively recent, but I'm not sure if it's them or not. So two for you to have a think about, Chris, and then we'll try and attack the manager one together, and then we'll have to get on the on Google and see if we're right or not.
Cool. All right, so we'll move into the Premier League review for this week, and we'll start with the Palace Brighton game. Some slight controversy around this result, Rich.
There was, yeah. And it sort of started and ended with the same player.
It did, yeah.
I'm just going to stop there, Chris. Sorry, Liverpool have just scored. Obviously, we'll keep you up to date with them, with the matches tonight. Yeah, so Liverpool have gone one up away at Munich. So yeah, obviously it's all about Knockaert. I mean, personally, I think it was a red. I think he should have been sent off. I think it was, in my view, it was quite similar to the one on Danny Rose in against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago. But I'm not sure whether it's because it's so early in the game, whether the ref feels that he can't send him off. I mean, I don't think that should be a reason.
It's this reasoning. I never really understand. Surely, if you make a bad, it shouldn't matter whenever it is in the game, even if it was the first
absolutely.
Minute. So I don't really understand that, to be honest.
No, I think it was a red card. I think that Palace have probably got a decent case to be annoyed with that. I think that I think it's a red, like you say.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters what minute it's in.
The actual goal he scored was a bit of a peach of a goal. So
it was, it was. But that's sort of what makes it even sort of more hard to swallow from a Palace perspective. I think because they were more than in the game, and it was a beautiful goal.
Yeah, they dominated the majority of the game as well, and I think obviously they have scored quite a few goals in the last sort of couple of weeks, but this week they just, they were stuttering a little bit. But it's another penalty for Palace.
Yeah, well, there's a stat about Milhalovic, is it?
Yeah.
Excuse my pronunciation, but I think historically Palace have always had a lot of penalties. Even like I remember when Andy Johnson was playing for them a good few years ago, and it was all the stories about him going down too easily and this, that, and the other. But he scored 9 goals this season, and guess how many have been penalties?
I would probably say at least 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah, 8. So he scored 9 goals, 8 of which have been penalties. They get so many penalties, Palace.
I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast, probably before Christmas now, but the amount of goal he's scored, something like 16 or 17 goals, and since he joined Palace a year and a half ago, but they were literally like 90% of them were all from the spot. So
Palace just historically get an awful lot of penalties.
just beware when you play them, I suppose.
Yeah.
But a good either way, it's a good 3 points for Brighton. And it kind of, they haven't been on the best of runs recently. I believe Glenn Murray got his 100th goal for Brighton as well, which is good achievement for him.
But he wasn't due to start. There was, I think there was an injury in the warm up, and he was meant to be on the bench. Yeah.
So
it worked out all right for him.
So, yeah. Cardiff, West Ham. So 2 teams, I feel they're very up and down. Both teams, like Cardiff, have not really had the best run past couple of games, and West Ham have really been up and down all season. So there's not. But I would still say that obviously I think people will be surprised that Cardiff won this after, like I said, their previous couple of games. But fair play to them; they showed a lot of character. I think.
Yeah, I think Cardiff won that purely because their desire was greater than West Ham's, and I think that's the thing that if anything's going to pull Cardiff through, that's what it will be. I don't really think West Ham were in the game that much, really.
No, not really.
Cardiff probably could have scored more than they did, but you could just tell they were the first to sort of every second ball. They just wanted it more than West Ham did, which I think was a bit disappointing from a West Ham perspective.
And it was a win that they needed, Cardiff, as well, with obviously the other results, which we'll go through in a minute. But
yeah, it's not just that though. Their running is horrendous.
Yeah, we did speak about this earlier.
Yeah, they have by far got the hardest running. And I know there's some stats that have been done around the teams in the sort of the bottom 5 or 6 in the Premier League and their expected points per game from now till the end of the season. And I think it's something like the teams in or around Cardiff. I think they need one. I think it's been worked out. They need 1 win, 1 possibly 2 wins, and based on the points that Cardiff are meant to get. I mean, I think they play Chelsea, they play City, they play United. They've got a really tricky run in Cardiff, and I don't know. I kind of think if I was a Saints fan or a Burnley fan, or I wouldn't be pinning my hopes on Cardiff losing those games, but I'd feel a bit more confident about your chances of staying up, knowing the fixtures they've got.
Yeah, well, just before the Huddersfield-Bournemouth game, Barcelona have scored a second. It's Coutinho has actually scored the goal, so I was surprised he was starting actually. But we'll move on to the Huddersfield-Bournemouth game. I think we both agreed that this wasn't. I know there was goals in the game, but Bournemouth pretty much coasted through this game. without great ease from Huddersfield. But I've seen now that Huddersfield, 2 more defeats and they could be down.
Yeah, it's not far
the
off.
Points, the numbers are catching up with them now, and I think it's literally if Southampton and Cardiff get 2 more wins, they'll be going down, unfortunately. So they Huddersfield were not. I think they've just lost. We spoke about it in previous podcasts about the passion that Huddersfield show on the pitch, and I feel in the last sort of 4 or 5 games that's completely gone with them. I think they're just resigned to the fact that they are going down, and there doesn't seem to be that fight anymore.
I think they've still got the fight. I just think they're being absolutely sort of found out now. That they, I mean, I expect. Well, we probably knew it for a long time, to be honest. But I just don't think they're good enough.
It's not a surprise, but
I mean, I still think they'll keep going until it's impossible. But I mean, it's going to come sooner or later, and I just think it's going to be sooner that it's confirmed that they're relegated. They've just had an awfully poor season, I think, and that game to me, I mean, it wasn't exciting. I mean, I think for Bournemouth it was relatively routine. It was probably the sort of game that Bournemouth needed, to be honest, with the form they've been in.
It was their first away win for a long time. I can't remember what it was.
I think it's 9 games or something. It's something.
Long time.
It is, yeah, it is a long time. But I think that, like I say, that's probably the sort of game they needed, really. I mean, if they played how they could play, I think that they're always going to come away with 3 points. And it just showed, really, when it was 2-0 up, it was sort of game over. I don't really think Huddersfield offered much, and it's a shame, really. It's a shame, but I think they've been prepping for the Championship
since January, probably.
Well, for a while.
So the Leicester Fulham game, just before, because I think you've got something you want to say on about Jamie Vardy. I was just when I was watching the game and hearing back on Match of the Day and things like that, the amount of times you hear the commentator say a mistake at the back for Fulham, honestly, literally, you go back and watch Match of the Day, and even in like the 10 sort of minutes that they showed the highlights in, I counted at least 6 times he said it.
Yeah, but I don't just think it's a defence now. I think for at least
I know.
But for at least one of the goals, I think it was Chambers and McDonald. Is it? I think they were playing in the centre of midfield, and I think the sort of, you will watch Fulham regularly, and they will lose the ball in midfield. They will get caught in possession, and teams will break on them pretty quick, and they're not helping themselves at all. I mean, I think Fulham are gone, to be honest. I mean, I'd be extremely surprised if they turn that around.
It's the numbers now, isn't it?
It is, and these are the games that, with the greatest of respect to Leicester, but I mean, Cardiff went to Leicester and they got 3 points, and you'd think these are the sort of games that Fulham have got to be picking points up, and they're not. They're just not picking up enough points at all, and I think that it's only a matter of time for them, to be honest, unfortunately, before sort of relegation is rubber stamped for them. Yeah. But I think just from a Leicester point of view, and I know I sort of said it last week, I'm not Brendan Rodgers' biggest fan, but I kind of like the way the Vardy's been playing since he has come in.
Rejuvenated him, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 goals in the last 2 games, and he's playing like Jamie Vardy. I mean, like you expect. I mean, I think as season by season, he's gonna lose that bit of pace, which is probably his biggest weapon. But he's still got something to offer, and I do just wonder. I don't know what you think about it. Like, if Rodgers coming in is gonna not just kickstart his sort of season, or his sort of pick up his career again, or whether it's going to do the same for Leicester as a whole. I mean, because you can only beat what's put in front of you. But I thought Fulham played pretty well, to be honest. I thought they thoroughly deserved the win.
To be honest, they didn't play that much different, Fulham, from what they did against Chelsea. They did I would say in the last 2 games you can definitely see the players giving more effort than what they
Sorry,
did.
Chris, just going to Bayern Munich just equalised. Sorry to cut you off. 1-1.
That's all right. That's fine. But it just looks like they are giving a bit more, to Scott Parker than what they did to Ranieri. I didn't even know Ranieri had gone to Roma. I didn't even know that until the weekend.
Yeah, well, Roma have got a bit of history about re-employing the same manager that they've had before, because this is the second time he's been at Roma.
Yeah, I didn't even
They
realise
do tend to do that quite a lot.
It was an own goal, by the way, by Matip own goal. Just seen it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ranieri was on a hide into nothing at Fulham. Really, I don't think he would have got them out of the situation they were in. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame. A good win for Leicester. Leicester look good. They're always a good side at home. Vardy's looking good. The Telemans, who got the first goal. I mean, I know he's only on loan from Monaco, but he looks a decent signing. They've got Maddison. They've got Chilwell. They've got Maguire. They've got
England internationals, haven't they?
Absolutely.
In the team,
they've got a decent side. They've got a decent side, and I think they're probably underachieving a little bit.
I think they will improve the. I think they will buy players in the summer. I think I think you mentioned about Morgan a couple of weeks ago that this will probably be his last season. I would have thought. Leicester.
But I mean, he's been
defender.
He's been a great servant for that club. I mean, he was part of the championship winning side, so
probably see half the Celtic team playing for Leicester next season.
Well, maybe, yeah. Although I did read that there was a gentleman's agreement that if
he would,
he wouldn't go back, yeah. But I doubt it's legally binding.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
So next up is the Newcastle Everton game, which will probably bring you quite some joy, Rich. Seeing this probably made you laugh a little bit. I know.
No, I've sort of changed. I've got to be honest. I'll be perfectly honest with you on this. No, I'm not. I'm not changing my mind at all. And Everton continue to disappoint on various levels, and in a way, this game or this match sort of sums up their season for me.
Yeah.
But the talking point has got to be Pickford. I mean.
Yeah.
Just a few features. So just quickly from my view, how he wasn't sent off for the first one, I've got no idea.
So according to what I've seen and read, this is to do with the new double jeopardy rule. Obviously, if you give away a penalty, you can't, can't get sent off. But it was. Where
do you draw the line with that? So
it was
for example, if someone is running into the penalty area and you almost like American football tackle them and it's a penalty, is it basically saying you can foul however you want in the penalty area because you won't get sent off for it, because double jeopardy states because there's a penalty you won't get a red card. He absolutely took him out. I don't want to see players get sent off, but I don't understand how he wasn't sent off.
What if you handball it on the line? What's the deal with that now then? Does that still go under the double jeopardy rule?
Well, exactly. But I mean, deliberate handball is it's stopping a goal scoring opportunity. Therefore, it's got to be a red card.
But then does he choose to give the penalty or to give a red card? If you were, this is a good question actually. If you were a player on the other team and the team that you're playing against, did a handball on the line, would you rather they have someone sent off or rather you have a penalty?
Well, I'd rather have the penalty, to be honest, but I'd rather the rules were followed. I mean, in my view, I'm not 100% sure on this double jeopardy, but I think he's got to get sent off. Is my first point.
He didn't have a great day today.
No, I mean, I know he saves the penalty, and then literally a couple of minutes later, Everton go up the other end and get the second. Yeah. But I mean, he gets caught coming off his line, and Rondon. I mean, I think he should have scored, but it went just wide. Newcastle's. I personally think he should have stopped the first one. I know Rondon hit it pretty
They
well,
hit it
but
into the ground. It was hit it. It wasn't a powerful shot, was it?
It almost goes under him.
Yeah.
Which I think he should have done better. The second one.
About the second.
Well, I mean, the ball. That's the one I'd probably give him a bit more leeway on, because the ball did move and it was hit with a lot of power.
And then it just comes out, doesn't it?
But you would still expect him to push it to safety.
Yeah. What about the third goal?
Well, the third goal's offside. There's no debate about that at all. But I don't want to go too far. But that's kind of what Everton deserved. That they almost. I don't want to say they deserved to lose, but they just completely fell apart. And Newcastle didn't.
Should never be losing the game at 2-0.
No, you shouldn't. No, I completely agree,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Newcastle
it just sort of summed it up for me.
I'm not sure what Rafa said at half time, but obviously whatever he did say worked, and I was impressed with Perez.
He probably just said shoot at Pickford, and he's bound to make a mistake.
Seen his catching. Because just before the when he rugby tackled Rondon in the box, it was because he went to catch the ball, wasn't it? And he completely went through his hands. So. Yeah,
absolutely. I think he. I know we'll sort of touch on the England game, the England squad later on, but I just say quickly, I think he's quickly running out of credit from the World Cup, Jordan Pickford. And I think that it's going to get to a stage where his place is seriously in jeopardy.
We'll have to wait and see. Well, the next game is the Tottenham Southampton game, which we are going to save.
I was there, Chris. I can tell you all about it. I can tell you all about that game.
This week's special topic, and that is mainly going to be Rich probably moaning or talking, or I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on to the City Watford game. Raheem Sterling.
Yeah.
Probably what I would say at this present time, probably one of the best players in the league at the moment. I'd say he's very underrated. And the problem is he's in a packed team of Man City players that are world class, and he delivers week in, week out. There's no doubt about it.
He does, yeah. There was an interesting question on the radio over the weekend around whether he is the most in-form England player at the moment. And I think he's got to be. I think the only one who would be near him is Harry Kane, but he's been out injured, hasn't he? So, yeah, absolutely. I think he's the player for City that you almost know coming to the stage of the season where they are at the moment, and they're going to have some big games coming up, that he's going to be a consistent member of that team during this sort of run. Which I guess leads on to the first goal.
Very strange, wasn't it? Like that. So I even got a bit confused watching this. So he's given offside, hasn't he? And then he's talking to the referee, and I'm guessing the referee is trying to find out who he's flagging offside. And obviously it does get overruled in the end.
So I think the only reason he can pull that back and give that goal is because he knows that it's come off the defender onto Sterling. That seems to be the only possible reason that they can overturn the original decision of it being offside. And if that is the reason, for example, then that is an unbelievable spot by the referee.
Yeah.
But do you think that's what it was? I'm not convinced.
No,
I'm not sure the ref's thought process as he goes through that, to be honest. But it's offside. It's
fair
offside.
play to Pep Guardiola, because in the interview after, he actually came out and said that it was offside. So and he even alluded that
get away with it. Yeah,
he alluded to VAR as well about obviously next season. He's saying there'd be no debate about it. So
no, and then I mean that goal then gives them the impetus, and Sterling goes on and gets a hat trick, and it's a relatively comfortable win for City.
3 or 4 weeks we've seen Man City play like Man City. Obviously, we've last week we were saying they were grinding the results out in the last couple of games, but they were back to the Man City. I think we spoke about before Christmas, week in, week out. We're just saying that they were cruising through that game. The thing that for me is their passing inside the box is so accurate. And it's Sterling's second goal, the tap in. They score a lot of types of that goal when the ball
Yeah,
goes across the face of the goal, and there's always someone there just to tap it in.
yeah, we've spoke about that before. They're very sort of the tiki-taka sort of Guardiola football, aren't they? I think that they just keep winning. I think no matter how they're playing, they just keep winning. I'm going to
saying City.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Me too.
I think it's going to be close, and it may even go down to the last game of the season. But I'm still backing City. A good win for them.
So, their main contenders obviously Liverpool against Burnley, which was the first game on Sunday. Burnley didn't actually play that badly in this game. I wouldn't say their first goal was. I thought it shouldn't have stood. I think.
No,
I think Tarkowski. He's all over Alisson. Really, he's like.
Yeah, I think keepers. I think keepers probably need a bit of protection. But I mean, even if you say that keepers are overprotected, I still think that's probably a foul. And we all know what Jurgen Klopp thinks of the wind after the game against Everton. So I expect he was even more annoyed with the British weather. But I think that Liverpool did what they needed to do. City had played the day before; they knew they had to win. Burnley are in a little bit of better form than they have been throughout the season. I think they gave them a bit of a scare. I think the performance of Tom Heaton is probably one thing that comes out of that game as sort of one of the main talking points. But pretty routine, I thought, for Liverpool.
It was, yeah. I thought, going forward, they are a threat every time Liverpool go forward with the players that they've got, like the Salah, especially Mane. I would say, if anything, Mane's probably been better than Salah this season. I know the goals scored for each player, I wouldn't say that, but I'd say he's definitely more consistent than Salah this season.
Yeah. Do you know what? I agree with you. There was a time maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago where I actually thought that if I was a Liverpool fan, I would rather Salah be out than Mane.
Yeah.
Which sounds
I agree.
A bit ridiculous, but that's how I kind of feel about it. I think I would rather. I think Mane's is probably more effective personally.
Definitely. So anyway, we'll move on to the Chelsea Wolves game. This is a very frustrating game for me to watch.
Why, Chris? Do tell.
Wolves just had the correct game plan. They had the only game plan, shall we say?
Is this where you feel that Chelsea's lack of a plan B lets them down?
Yeah, I think and it definitely showed on Sunday that no matter what we were trying, it just wasn't working out. And the more and more the game went on, the more and more you could see Wolves catching them on the break. And when they did catch them on the break, Wolves, the Chelsea defence just fell apart. David Luiz, he does this every game. When we can see, he goes in for tackles and he completely misses. It's like he's nowhere near the ball.
Yeah, so but that's what I mean. I'm not sure. I'm still not convinced he's an actual defender, to be honest. I think he's almost that sort of. He's almost more of a creative midfielder than he is a defender. But
but it's just Wolves. They knew what they had to do, and they did it spot on. To be honest with you, it was annoying, and thank God that we got that goal at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Wolves they knew exactly what Chelsea were going to do, and they set up to counter how Chelsea were going to play. And even as the match wore on, and Chelsea just, although they had possession, they didn't really dominate the game as you think they maybe should have done at home. and Wolves I think Wolves had their number really, and I think I maybe a bit controversial for you, Chris, but I think Wolves actually unlucky to draw. Maybe I think they probably do
Well,
they
yeah.
deserve to win it? I mean,
To be honest with you, I'd probably say they probably did. We, Hazard gets the goal like literally 2 minutes into stoppage time. I think we just didn't. It just didn't create enough. I think the midfield was fine, but it was just getting balls into the box. Higuain, who
he had a bit of a bit of a
sold on.
stinker. You've changed your tune. You've changed your tune from when you signed him.
Well, because you sold, and bought him, luckily, but you kind of sold gold, and it ends up being less than bronze what you get, to be honest. But the thing is,
I don't want to tell I told you so, Chris,
but
I've said from the start, I think you're buying his name. He's not the player that he was.
Jorginho got booed off as well when he came off.
He hasn't had the greatest of times, has he? Just a quick question on this, Chris. Just quickly before we move on to the Arsenal game, with Zidane going back in at Real Madrid, the talk of
trousers when he did his press conference. Did you see what he was wearing?
No, I didn't.
He had a suit jacket and smart shirt on top. He literally was wearing leggings and trainers.
Good man. He can wear what he wants, Zizou, and he'll get away with it. But obviously, with him going back in, the talk of sort of Madrid rebuilding and him getting this sort of war chest for transfers and stuff. Obviously, the Hazard conversations have kicked off again. And I think, if anything, that the fact that Zidane's there now is probably something even more that would persuade Hazard to go, personally.
We'll have to wait and see, because I'm still unsure what they're going to do. So obviously they've got this transfer ban now, which they appealed, and it looks like the appeal is going to be turned down. So I'll have to wait and see. They won't be keen on selling him, but then his contract's out next summer, so
player power are coming on that one.
Anyway,
okay, but
Arsenal,
a point's a point.
Yeah.
Arsenal United, yeah.
Were Man United suffering from a PSG hangover?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I was surprised at this, to be honest. Before the game, I probably would have had United to win it. I mean, a close game, but I think I would have had United to win it. But saying that, you can't take anything away from Arsenal. I feel a bit of a strange game. Not sure what went on the first goal. I mean, there's been varying sort of comments made on it, where a lot of people are blaming De Gea. A lot of people are saying that he didn't have a lot of chance with it because the ball moved so much. I mean, personally, I don't think the ball moved an awful lot.
I thought he should have done better. Yeah,
but
he should have done better.
I think the key thing is almost that because he's moved his weight to his left, that it then makes it so much harder to get the weight back on his right side. But I'm not sure why he went to his left anyway, because, like I said, I mean, the ball did move, but I don't think it moved enough to deceive him at that sort of level. So I think that was a bit of a surprise, personally.
What about the penalty? Bit soft, wasn't
it? Well, no, I don't think it was. I don't think it was a penalty. But I mean, even sort of after Arsenal scored the first goal, Lukaku then hits the bar. I think it was pretty much straight after the goal, wasn't it? Or was it just before?
I think it was just after.
So I mean, they had their chances. I thought United were a bit flat, but let's be honest. I mean, what they did in Paris midweek was pretty unbelievable. So I don't necessarily blame them. It makes the race for the top four a lot tighter.
Do you think,
especially with Chelsea dropping points, obviously United dropping points, Arsenal sort of back up into fourth? It'd be it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I think
Chelsea
Arsenal
do have a
deserved
game
it.
in hand, just to let you know. It can go
Yeah,
back
against
to 4th,
Everton though.
so.
Yeah.
Well, it's not right.
Well, you don't know what Everton you're going to get. But
let's hope we get the Everton that you speak about.
Well, yeah. Just on Arsenal, I think there's a stat that I think they're 11 or 12 points ahead of where they were last season. And we know it was Wenger's last season. Obviously, Emery coming in this year, it's going to be a bit of a transition. And I know there's still a lot of debate around Emery and sort of whether he's doing a good job or not. And whether I should say it or not, as a Spurs fan, I think he's doing a good job. I think
if he's improved on last season, then
yeah, absolutely. You've got to manage the expectations. You've got to manage. Arsenal were never going to win the league this year, and they are miles away from winning the league, as are the majority of the teams in the Premier League. But I think if they had a world-class defence or a better defence than what they've got, I think they'd be a completely different proposition.
Yeah,
and if they could get Ozil playing or get rid of Ozil and get someone else in, I think they're going to be a threat. But I think he's doing a good job. But a good win. Yeah, a good win.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the EFL now, Rich. And you've got the Championship and League One.
Yes, so there are some games in the Championship tonight actually ongoing at the moment, and there were some last night as well. So we're trying to cover the weekend and the midweek games. So from the weekend, so Norwich remain top of the table with a 2-point lead. They got a 1-0 win over Swansea on Friday night, which was their 4th successive win. Leeds are in second, Sheffield United are in third. Both kept the pressure on with their own victories. Leeds won 1-0 away at Bristol City, and Sheffield United got all 3 points in a 2-0 home win against Rotherham. West Brom, Middlesbrough and Derby, they all make up the playoff places, but they failed to take maximum points over the weekend. West Brom got I don't want to say disappointing draw, but they played Ipswich. Ipswich are obviously bottom of the table, and it was 1-1. I think you probably would have expected. Yeah, it ended up to be his last game. I think you would have expected West Brom to win that. Middlesbrough lost at home to Brentford, and Derby drew 1-1 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. But the point for Derby did lift them into the playoffs places above Bristol City. At the bottom, Ipswich, as we mentioned, got a 1-1 draw at West Brom, but it does still leave them 12 points from safety and 7 points behind the nearest team, which is Bolton in 23rd. Because Bolton got 3 points in a 2-1 home win against Millwall. Rotherham, the final team in the relegation places, as mentioned, they lost 2-0 to Sheffield United. The biggest movers really at the bottom were Reading. Although Reading did lose 3-0 to Leeds last night, at the weekend they did get a little bit of breathing space at the bottom. They beat Wigan 3-2 on Saturday. So last night, Sheffield United and Leeds both won. Sheffield United beat Brentford 2-0. Leeds beat Reading 3-0, as we said. Ipswich did exactly what they did at the weekend. So away at Bristol City, a match probably they didn't expect to get anything out of. They were 1-0 down and ended up in a 1-1 draw. In tonight's games, so at the top, Middlesbrough are beating Preston 1-0. Norwich are winning 2-1 at home to Hull. And West Brom are 1-0 up against Swansea. In the other games, Derby and Stoke is 0-0, and Villa are beating Nottingham Forest 2-1. Which just, I don't think we can not mention it. Obviously, what happened to Jack Grealish. He said it was the best day of his life, or best day of his career. I'm assuming he meant the goal.
I think he's on about the goal.
Yeah, scoring the winner. I think, if anything, I don't think we can say what we actually feel about the guy who did it, because our bleep machine isn't working. But yeah, it's almost like I think the majority of football fans would have been glad that Grealish went on and scored the winner, whether you support Villa or not, because it was almost... I know you can't tar all Birmingham fans with the same brush, and you would never do that, but I just think it was absolutely ridiculous. And I think the fact that he's now been sentenced to to some hard time in prison is probably well deserved for him.
No place for that in football.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But yeah, so we'll move on. So League One, Luton, they remain top of the table, but their lead has been cut to just 3 points now. They got a 0-0 draw away at Plymouth, and second place Barnsley, they carried on their unbeaten run. I think they're unbeaten about 19, 20 games now, Barnsley. So it's an amazing run of form. They won 2-0 at home to Accrington. Sunderland are in third. They got a point in a 1-1 draw away at Wickham, and Portsmouth dropped points, losing 2-1 away at Charlton in the late kick-off on Saturday night. Charlton remain in fifth after that victory, and Doncaster occupy the final playoff place, but only on goal difference from Peterborough, and they lost 2-0 away at Wimbledon. At the bottom, 3 of the bottom 4 all won. Wimbledon beat Doncaster, as we've just said. Wimbledon are on an amazing run of form. And they also won last night. They beat Peterborough 1-0 last night. And I think they're actually level on points now with 1 or 2 teams above them. They're on a brilliant run of form. I think sort of in the build-up to the West Ham game, or it might be in the Millwall game in the FA Cup, we were sort of saying that Wimbledon are as good as down. But yeah,
they're on the same
great
points
run
as
of form.
Bradford.
Yeah, and Bradford won. Bradford beat Peterborough 3-1.
Peterborough not had a good
weekend. No, they haven't. They've lost to both of the bottom 2 teams. And Rochdale beat Shrewsbury 2-1. Oxford are in 21st. They were the only team not to take 3 points at the weekend. They lost 1-0 away at Gillingham. So yeah, it's very tight at the bottom. Only 7 points are separating the bottom 6 teams. So really, really tight.
What about Oxford 21st? They're on 40. And then literally Burton in 11th are only on 47.
Yeah, it's really tight. Really tight in that division. But yeah, just so from last night, Barnsley and Sunderland drew 0-0. Luton won 1-0 away at Bradford. Pompey beat Walsall 3-2 away, although they were 3-0 up. But Walsall sort of came back, made it a bit close. And Rochdale and Oxford drew 0-0, which didn't really help either team at the bottom. So yeah, trying to get the weekend's action and the midweek action of the championship. Just as an update, so Villa have just gone 3-1 up against Nottingham Forest, and Norwich are now 3-1 up against Hull. So should be 3 points for those two. League 2, Chris.
So League 2, Lincoln remain. So this is Saturday's stuff, and then I'll go on to Tuesdays in a minute. Lincoln remain top still. They secured a 1-0 victory over Yeovil. Struggling Yeovil. Bury remain in second after a 1-0 win away to Stevenage. Nicky Maynard scored a 95th minute winner in that one, so they only just won that game. MK Dons ran out 3-1 winners over Sol Campbell's Macclesfield. MK Dons have moved up to third, whilst Mansfield slipped to fourth after a surprise 2-1 defeat to Port Vale. Tranmere in fifth beat Crewe Friday night by a 0-0. Colchester sixth and Carlisle in seventh, both picking up victories. At the bottom, Notts County lost 4-1, so they remain at the foot of the table. Macclesfield lost to MK Dons on 23rd, and Yeovil slipped to just above the relegation zones after they lost to Lincoln. And they did at that point hold a 6-point lead over that. Anyway, last night, so we have 4 fixtures last night apart from one game. And as always, Lincoln remain top, and they're now 5 points clear of third and 10 points off of fourth as well. So they're only a couple more wins and they could secure promotion. So they are looking strong favourites in that league. They beat Oldham 2-0. Oldham were down to 10 men for the majority of that game as well. Bury didn't play, but they remained second. Mansfield regained third place after they drew 0-0 with Crawley. And MK Dons have gone back to fourth after they lost to Morecambe by 4-2. Tranmere in fifth beat Grimsby 4-1. That's 5-5 for Tranmere now. So they're finishing the league strong. Forest Green are back in the playoffs after they beat Colchester 3-0. They actually leapfrogged Colchester to fifth. Colchester now in sixth. So yeah, And to the bottom, we actually have a new team at the bottom. Sol Campbell's Macclesfield are back at the bottom of the table.
Where's the
actually
magic
play.
gone, Sol?
They didn't actually play last night, so they have got a game in hand. But Notts County picked up a 3-1 victory over Carlisle away as well. That was a pretty good result for Notts County, considering they've been in poor form. Speaking of poor form, Yeovil lost to the team just above them in the league. They lost to Port Vale by 3-0 and find themselves 4 points from 4 points above the relegation zone. It will be 3 if Macclesfield win their game in hand. So after 2 wins,
it's tight down at the bottom.
Games, then being sucked right back in there. It doesn't help that Notts County and Macclesfield keep winning sort of the odd game here and there, and Yeovil really aren't picking up any points. So yeah, struggling, but there's a big game for them this weekend. Yeovil are playing Macclesfield, so we'll have to see how that one goes. But that was
a real 6-pointer.
The bumper edition of the EFL review.
Yeah, a lot of games.
But that's it for part 1. We'll be back in part 2 with a brief thing on predictions. The special topic, which is Rich's little. I say away day. It's kind of home stroke away day, I'd say.
I could walk down there, Chris. It's within walking distance.
I'll try and give the teaser answer for Rich's teaser, and we'll try and come together to work on Pete's teaser that he gave us. So we'll be back in part 2.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of View from the Sideline podcast. We're just going to give you a quick update on predictions. So last week Liam was our guest. Not a great week all round. Highest score of 15.
Saved my last game.
yeah, it was that it was the Birmingham Villa game that got your solitary 5 points. So nothing in the way of a sort of competitive score with regards to how the overall table's looking. So Jamie's still top with 30. But we're fast running out of rounds for someone to try and overtake him. But Sophie is our guest this week, so she's going to have a go at trying to topple Jamie, see if she can get close to the 30 points. Also for Chris and I to see if we can get our averages up. But yeah, absolutely. The games have gone online today, so you'll be able to see the 6 matches and the predictions from the 3 of us. And obviously, as normal, we'll be posting the results over the weekend.
Yeah. Just speaking of predictions, we are going to be running something a little bit different on the last day of the season, aren't we, Rich?
Yes, we are.
So for the predictions on the last day of the season, we are going to randomly draw 2 names that have previously done it this season, and whoever gets drawn out will be able to have another go. So one last chance at trying to topple whoever is top at the time. But unfortunately, whoever is top at the time is not going to be put into the draw. So at the moment, that would be Jamie. So yeah, we just thought we'd spice it up a little bit for the last round. So 2 people will get to have another go, and we're going to do that. Well, we're going to do it on Facebook Live. We're going to try Facebook Live, aren't we, Rich? So
we are, and I expect the 2 people that get picked out will all fall flat on our faces and get nowhere near 30. But yeah, we're going to give it a go. There are, to be fair, there's a few people that have asked if they can have another go. So
yeah, Lewis is the main one. I think I can't actually count how many times he's.
Well, we're going to try. We're going to try and accommodate a few people.
Yeah. So
yeah,
2
see
people
if they can get another go.
2 people will get another go, and Adam will be praying that it's him because he is the only one on a 0.
Yeah, we could have added both his scores together, but because he got 0 in the first one, it wouldn't have really been worth it. So that's predictions. So we'll move on to the Saints Spurs game.
Your
We
little
will
gayer.
we will try and touch on the England squad just quickly if we get time after this. But so I had a day out on
Well done,
Saturday.
Rich.
I went to St Mary's to see Southampton v Spurs. I was sat in the away end, which as the game wore on became more and more frustrating.
Well, you
But
were sat in the home end.
did I say away?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was sat in the home end. Yes, I was sat with the Saints fans. So
You
I
enjoyed that
think
though, didn't you? You've told me many a time this week that
no, I
you.
didn't. No, it's so difficult. Last time I went, Spurs won 2-0, so I had no fake clapping at all to do.
Imagine
But
that, having a fake clap. Ugh.
yeah, I didn't. I just stood up. I didn't clap. So I mean, I think that I'm sure most people will, pretty much everybody, I would say that has an interest in football, goes to watch live football. You can't really beat the experience. I find it completely different to watching it on telly or watching highlights. I mean, this game in particular, sort of on the Saturday evening when I was watching it on Match of the Day, it gives you a completely different perspective on the game. And also sort of highlights the tough job it must be to edit highlights of a match, because I thought there was so much more that happened that they didn't show. But as a game, and this was also said by a lot of Saints fans after the final whistle. I don't think I've ever seen a game, or haven't seen a game for such a long time that sort of flipped so dramatically from sort of the first, maybe the first hour. First half, Spurs were so dominant, it was ridiculous. I can't really remember Lloris having to make a save. Saints didn't really offer anything going forward. I thought Charlie Austin was pretty poor, to be honest. You could tell sort of Saints were trying to use him as a target man, but that at times the midfield was almost overtaking him. So it turned out when they were in a position to get the ball in the box, he wasn't in the box. And he just seemed, his first touch seemed to sort of let him down. The ball just wouldn't stick to him. And I mean, he got pulled off at half time, which, to be honest, didn't hugely surprise me. I thought he had a poor first half. And I think Danny Ings was injured, but I kind of think that he's got to be ahead of Charlie Austin in the pecking. Nothing against Charlie Austin. He didn't perform on the day at all. Spurs should have been 3 or 4 up really by half time. Harry Kane had a couple of chances. Obviously they got the goal. It was good, set up by Dele Alli. It was good to see Dele Alli back. But 1-0, you're always a little bit nervous, aren't you? You're always sort of, it only takes one goal, obviously, and the opposition are back in it. And I just think Spurs, certainly in the first half, rude missing those chances. Second half, I'd say the first 5 to 10 minutes, Saints came out and they did look a different side. They looked a lot more sort of involved. They look a lot more up for it. But then Spurs sort of pulled it back, and it was a funny game. And I think as soon as Saints equalised, you could just feel that they were going to go on and get the winner, which they duly did. I mean, there was some controversy around the free kick and stuff, whether he should have got a red card. But he was the weak link for me. Walker Peters for Spurs. He didn't have a very good game. He didn't have a very good game the last time I saw him play, where Spurs were away at Palace in the Cup. He was pretty poor that day as well.
Overconfidence, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what Pochettino said after the game, where he said the players were a bit arrogant, and it's difficult to tell when you're watching it. I mean, they just seem to let Saints back into the game, really. and then I think they got to Spurs a little bit, and the thing, I mean, I don't want to ruffle any feathers when I say this, but the thing about St Mary's is that the times that I've been down there, and it was, I especially felt this on Saturday when Saints weren't playing well and Spurs were winning and they were deservedly winning. The crowd don't seem, there seems to be a limited atmosphere there, and the fans don't really seem to get behind the team. A lot of the noise where I was, there was a lot of sort of aggro aimed at the referee and the linesman because some of the decisions weren't going Saints' way, and it's almost like it was difficult for me because obviously I'm not there supporting Saints, but you just almost want the crowd to get behind the team and sort of spur them on rather than focusing your energy on the referee and on the linesman because you're not getting the decisions that you think you should be getting. As soon as they equalised, and I don't know whether this is what you would expect, as soon as they equalised, the crowd were completely different. The Spurs, in my opinion, the Spurs fans were louder than the Saints fans for pretty much 70 minutes of that game until Saints scored, and then it just flipped and they got behind their team and they went on to win it. I mean, it's just an opinion. It's just sort of how I saw it. It's just, but it was like that last time that I went to St Mary's as well. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe it's me being there that.
But yeah, maybe you were distracted.
maybe it is me, but I think that's the sort of thing that the way Saints are playing, the crowd play a massive part, as in obviously in their home games, and they need that support. They need the fans behind them, and I think that. I mean, the equalising goal. I mean, however you want to spin it, I think it was an error from Danny Rose. I thought Danny Rose played pretty well, to be honest. He got a lot of stick from the fans because there was an incident pretty early on in the game where he had a bit of a tangle with Ward-Prowse, and there was nothing to it. There wasn't anything to it. It was accidental and sort of Rose. I think he took one to the face. Maybe he went down a little bit too easily, but the crowd were on his back after that. And yeah, I mean the goal it was massively avoidable, but being there and sort of where we were sat, that Spurs were playing very narrow at the back, and Valerie, the formation that Saints were playing, Valerie had a lot of space out wide, and he was the go-to ball. He was the out ball. He was always in space, and obviously it sort of transpired that he's the one that he gets around the back. I'm not sure what Danny Rose is doing. You just want him to lump it into sort of Rose Z, and then it takes a bit of a bobble and ends up bouncing over Lloris, which wasn't great. And then the free kick. I mean, it was definitely a free kick, and what a goal! I mean, it was a great goal. We sat there when he was sort of lining it up, and we just thought he's going to score this. You can just feel that he was going to score, and then.
So you've always got a memento of the day, though, Rich, haven't you? Because your face is on the Premier League.
It is just before Ward-Prowse took the free kick. Yeah, great picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's you cannot beat live football from the whole the atmosphere before it and stuff, and during the warm up, and obviously you get to see the players up close and stuff. And the one thing I noticed, I mean, there was a decent number of Spurs fans or people in sort of Spurs scarves and stuff walking around outside the stadium beforehand, and there was I mean, I didn't see any hint of trouble or anything like that. And there was dads with their young kids sort of in full kit and stuff, and I don't think there was do you know what I mean? I think you could put this. It can be a bit intimidating go into an away ground for a match, and I think the Saints fans, they are good. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm criticising them with the atmosphere, but maybe it was just being a Spurs fan. I just kind of thought, just get behind your team. I mean, decisions are going to go against you. I mean, there was some decisions that should have gone Spurs' way that didn't. And there were some that should have gone Saints' way that didn't, but you're not going to change it. And it's just kind of,
No.
I just felt like it. Maybe it's just the people around me. Just that there was a lot of moaning going on. But
Leon have just scored
2-1, yeah, so they got an away goal. But yeah, one thing I won't deny that Saints. I think from the whole game, if you look at it from a sort of numbers point of view and being there, Spurs should have won it, but Saints capitalised on Spurs' sort of lackadaisical attitude, I think. And in the last sort of 5 minutes, they just resorted to sort of pumping it upfield, and Llorente came on. They were trying to get the flick on. Yeah, disappointing, but a good day out and a good game.
Yeah.
It was a good game to watch. I'd like to go there as a neutral, not as a
Quickly,
Spurs fan though.
Quickly go through the England squad. So it's Butland, Heaton, Pickford, Alexander-Arnold, Chilwell, Keane, Maguire, Rose, Shaw, Stones, Torosky, Trippier, Walker, Barkley, Ali, Delph, Dyer, Henderson, Loftus-Cheek, Rice, Kane, Rashford, Sancho, Sterling, and Wilson. 3 of those names I was surprised by. I'd say Keane I was quite surprised by. Delph and Wilson were the other 2. Delph I don't think has played that much. And Keane wasn't not really too sure about why he's been picked, but that's just my point of view.
Well, I think Keane is you've got to remember that Cahill's now almost
done. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm not 100% sure who else you put in, and Keane he was very good at Burnley. He just hasn't done that well at Everton. I mean, I can kind of see why he's in it. The two that the main one for me is I know we've just been talking about him. I'm surprised Ward-Prowse isn't in it personally.
Yeah, I would have picked him over Delph.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, and I'm not wholly convinced on Ross Barkley. I just don't.
He's been all right. I wouldn't say
he's been all right, but I mean, I'm assuming he's there as a squad player. I mean, I don't think he's near the starting 11. But I was just surprised he put him in.
So if he plays the 3 in midfield, you've got Barkley, Ali, Delph, Dyer, Henderson, Loftus-Cheek, and Rice. I'm assuming Rice will get some sort of time on the pitch, but other than that, Henderson's gone off injured tonight as well. I don't know if you knew that. He's gone off injured. So.
But Liverpool have just scored 2-1. Yeah, so it looks like with the away goals, it looks like Liverpool are going to be going through.
No Jamie Vardy either, Rich.
No, I'm not overly surprised by that, if I'm honest. I didn't expect him to be in the squad, and I think if you look at the forward players that he has picked, I think Kane and Rashford are Sterling.
I would have thought they're the 3.
They're pretty given, to be honest. You can't really leave Sancho out the way he's playing at Dortmund. I think he's going to be a mainstay in the squad for a long time. And Callum Wilson, I think, is probably a toss of a coin because he's certainly one for the future. Well, more for the future than Vardy is. So I'm not surprised that Vardy wasn't included. To be honest,
it'll be good to see how they get on. I think since England last played, so I quite like England games. I know a lot of people aren't that fussed by it, but
I don't think either match is going to test them that much. To be honest,
I think they qualifying thing can.
Well, no, but that's the trouble. That's the trouble. I think they're probably aiming for the Nations League, aren't they, against Holland? So I think that's probably what they're looking at.
Okay, so we'll move on quickly to the teaser and the answer. So your question to me was about the year and the score.
Yes.
I'm really not sure. I think it was. I'd say 2002. I'll say 2000. I'll say 2002. I think it'll be in and around. I think that sort of area.
Yeah. It was 2003. You were
Oh,
very,
it's
very
close.
close.
And I'm not sure on the score. I think it was either 0-0 or 1-1. I think it was I'm not sure. I'll go 1-1.
Oh, Chris.
Was it 0-0?
It was 0-0.
Ah, damn it! Yeah.
So close.
So
So
close.
close, yet
Yeah.
so far on
I
both
vaguely
of
remember it was a
those.
draw because I think it was in the last sort of minutes of the game
It
as well. I
was,
think it
yeah.
was. Yeah. Oh, never mind.
Okay, so Pete's teaser. So I'm just gonna put mine out there.
Go on then.
My initial thought is De Boer at Palace, but I'm not sure how long he lasted. My only other one is, I don't even know if this is right. I've got two. So De Boer is one, and my other one is the guy who was at United. He used to be the assistant, and then he went to
Mühlenstein.
Fulham. Was he at Fulham?
No, was it Mühlenstein?
Yes, it was him.
Mühlenstein.
He was Ferguson's assistant, but I'm sure he took charge full time.
De Boer is the only one that I was thinking, and then I was thinking another Fulham one, but I can't remember his name. He was a Spanish manager, but I can't remember.
Well, so Ranieri's just been sacked, and he was 100 odd days, just over 100, I think.
40 days really isn't.
No, and especially if you were employed in the summer, for example, that may only be like 1 game, 2 games you were in charge. But I'm going to go for De Boer at Palace. That's what I'm going for. I don't think it's right, but I cannot, and I've been thinking about it because I did get this question about an hour before we started recording, so I did have a bit of a.
I'll say De Boer as well.
Bit of a head start. I'm thinking.
Just googling it now. So we're going with De Boer. Oh, it's not De Boer now.
Oh.
De Boer was third. Mühlenstein was second.
Oh.
Les Reed had a shocker at Charlton last only 40 days. He was nicknamed Le Miserable in the press.
Oh, well, there you go. I wouldn't have got that. I wouldn't have got it from Charlton.
Bob Bradley was fourth.
I forgot about Bob Bradley. Tony Adams. What, at Portsmouth? Tony Adams at Portsmouth?
Yep, Portsmouth.
Oh,
Ranieri
I completely forgot about that. Oh, well.
Pepe Mel was the Spanish guy I was thinking of, but he was 120 days. He was 10th.
Yeah. Well, we got third place.
Technically got second and third. Never mind.
I know, but I went for De Boer. Okay, yeah, good question.
Yeah,
good question.
Well, that's it for this week. Anything else, Rich?
No, nothing from me. No, nothing from me.
Well, we will see you again next week.
Yep, see you soon.